Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Music Village. And most importantly, Happy New Year to each and every single last one of you out there. And our New Year's resolution for this year, and yes, Maestro, we came up with it last night, is to bring as much fun, happiness, and comedy in different forms of shenanigans we can with all the shows that we do on a nightly, daily basis throughout this entire year to help all of you out there to reconstruct after the destruction that 2020 has caused. Yeah, that's the best New Year's resolution we can give you guys. But besides New Year's resolutions we came up with last night while we were streaming and partying the night away with you fans out there, playing games into the early hours of the morning, and most of the reason why in the world this show is absolutely so late as it is now, I think it's time for us to kick off this year for the first day of the new year for the first time in 5 years for this show with another edition of the Music Village Update. And seeing the fact that last night the world decided to hit the good old reset button with some fireworks and the changing of a calendar, speaking of kicking things off, folks, I think it would be perfect if we had instead of kicking this year off, punching the year off, big booting this year off, or even kneeing this year off with another edition of the Year of the Fist. And for those who've never watched this show before and is wondering what is the Year of the Fist, it's the part of the year where we kick off the year with a whole bunch of kung fu fighting, boxing, and just back alley brawl, nasty fighting games for the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories throughout this entire month. But it doesn't end there, folks, because along with that, in another week from this week, we go for the first time ever back home to a middle of the week 5-year anniversary of the Indie Radio Arcade, which will be up to level 120 at that point, which means we need to find a Nintendo game in less than 5 days, Maestro. But along with that, folks, for this month, we will be honoring Adult Swim for the As Seen on TV for the Tuesday night special, kicking things off with C-Lab 2021, and a whole bunch of Adult Swim original programming to mention throughout this entire month. And to go even further than that, folks, we go into a very special milestone edition of Under the Radar in less than 3 weeks with the 290th episode of that said show. So after we had a crazy homecoming episode, not even 5 weeks later, we're going directly into another classic milestone of madness for that show as well. But wait, folks, there's more, because in that same week bracket, we also go to Doc Brown's status with the Indie Radio Arcade, and just to give you guys a hint, it will involve Doc Brown in some way, shape, or form. And in 2 weeks' time, folks, from this week's episode of Music Village, we answer your questions at home for another mid-month edition of the Music Village Mailbag, which we might move a little bit later than that, because 2 weeks after we may or may not answer your questions that week, we celebrate the 7-year anniversary of this flagship show that started it all, only known as Music Village. And it's hard to believe that by the end of this month, we will be celebrating 7 years of that show. Man, how time flies. And to continue on with that, folks, we will also do a match card review for one of the big 4 pay-per-views known as the Royal Rumble, and also give our guesses and estimations of who we think is going to win the Royal Rumble for this year. And thus far, I do believe it may be the GOAT man himself, Daniel Bryan. Yeah, Maestro, I'm making my predictions early, so deal with it. And along with that, folks, we will also include, just before the end of this entire month, a very special edition of a work in progress to go along with it, with a couple of the nominees of the Indie Awards to be involved in it as well, which we might start doing for Under the Radar as well, because there's going to be a lot of awards to hand out for the Indie Awards for this year. And with everybody already in the nim of what we've got planned for this crazy year, including a couple of Twitch streams here and there for you fans out there in the middle of the night while we gain some inspiration for more crazy things to do for this year, I think you should all get ready, strap yourselves in, put on your head protective gear, get a mouthpiece, some boxing gloves, some kick pads, put that little eye stuff underneath your eye just in case you end up with a donut or any form of, black eye that may happen during combat, and get prepared to ring the bell as we get ready to fight to start off this great year. And with that said, folks, I think it's time for us to head back to the music, and when we return, we'll be back with another edition of the Friday Night Greenlight right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned.